Hello students, welcome back to the reading of Herbert's poem. Here is our text, the Pulley. Let's read the first two stanzas. Now you all know that it is a devotional or religious poem which attempts to explain and justify the plan of God. It is in fact an expression of faith in divine love. Now the text. When God at first made man, having a glass of blessings standing by, let us, said he, pour on him all we can. Let the world's riches, which dispersed lie, contract into a span. So strength first made a way, then beauty flowed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure. When almost all was out, God made us stay, perceiving that alone of all his treasure rest in the bottom lay. Now look at the first stanza. The very first line is an allusion to the biblical myth of the creation of mankind. It is found in the Old Testament, Genesis chapters 1 and 2. Then we have the expression a glass of blessings. This expression actually refers to God's gifts, which He endows His most favorite creatures with. And while creating mankind, God probably has a plan in His mind, and the plan is to make His most favorite creatures perfectly happy and blissful. Thus, his aim is to pour all the riches of the world, all the best things of the world, scattered in different remote parts of the world, into a span. The expression contract into a span may mean that all the best things would be bestowed upon mankind within the small space or brief portion of time granted to him or her. The word span uh, may actually refer to the lifespan of a human being. According to the Bible, the lifespan of a human being uh, can be calculated as three score years and 10. That would amount to 70 years. 3 into 20 plus 10, 70 years. Thus, initially, God has this plan to allow His most favorite creatures to enjoy His gifts through its limited span of time. Now, the second stanza. The second stanza gives the list of blessings or gifts, starting with strength, then beauty, next wisdom, honor, pleasure, etc. Now look at the items mentioned here. The list actually sounds like an impact of Renaissance humanism, especially with a praise of beauty and pleasure that are no longer viewed as evil allurements. Before the advent of Renaissance humanism, worldly things such as beauty and pleasure were often treated with suspicion. But while creating the mankind, God suddenly paused or stopped. Look at the word stay. Probably he wanted to change his plan. That is why he stopped. Now God had only one item left, That was rest. And rest is going to be important in the context of the poem because rest has certain religious or biblical connotation which we must know in order to appreciate the text. Rest here refers to the most valuable gift or blessing from God. As Saint Augustine says in his autobiographical work Confessions, I quote, "You made us for yourself, and our hearts find no rest until they rest in you." Thus, rest may be viewed as relief from fatigue, both physical and psychological. It may mean the absence of worries, anxieties, and woes. Therefore, it is some kind of inner peace or salvation. The importance of rest is also seen in the biblical notion of Sabbath, a day set aside for rest and worship. So the second stanza lists the blessings or gifts and also suggests that God is probably going to change his plan because he has suddenly stopped. Probably uh, God is in a dilemma whether to give the last blessing or gift that is left with him, rest. Thus, the poem begins with an allusion to the creation of mankind. From the book of Genesis, we learn that God created the human beings in his own image. First, he created Adam and then Adam's companion Eve. They were allowed to live in utter bliss, innocence, and happiness in a beautiful garden called the Garden of Eden, which was their home. It was the time without any hardship, pain, or suffering, but something went wrong. At the allurement of an evil spirit or the devil, they disobeyed God and thereby committed the original sin. And sin, as we all know, never goes unpunished. Adam and Eve lost their innocence and fell from their blissful seat, the paradise. This is known as the fall of mankind. Adam and Eve, along with the entire human race that would descend from them, were subjected to all sorts of pain, misery, and hardships. Their heavenly perfection was lost forever. They became so imperfect and agonized. Worries, anxieties, restlessness, and all other sufferings came to trouble the fallen mankind that can only be saved or restored to heavenly bliss by an unshaken faith in or total devotion to God the Almighty, the only hope for salvation. In the first two stanzas, however, we only get an allusion to the creation of mankind, and the reference to man's fall has been used in the third stanza. And in the second stanza, the most important idea is going to be rest, lying in the bottom of a jar. This is in fact can be treated as a reference to the classical myth of Pandora's box. In the story of Pandora, we also find Pandora receiving a malicious gift from Zeus, and the best thing in the box was hope. That also lay in the bottom, and Pandora had to let it out so that all the sufferings that he mistakenly set free could be soothed or ameliorated. Here also the best gift, is found lying in the bottom of the jar, and God has not yet decided whether to gift this most valuable item to his creatures as yet or not. These mainly are the ideas dealt with in the first two stanzas.